Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Ever since episode 1, there's been something on my mind. Writing and story to the side, this show, does it look not up to par? Just thinking, pure production quality wise, did it at times feel like it was, you could go as far as saying like a fan film, or maybe just looks like it was made by a completely different studio? A studio with maybe a little less money in their pocket? And I'm not really sure why. So Obi-Wan Kenobi is over, and it was fun, It was a fun adventure with many, if not all, of the classic elements that make Star Wars so special. I enjoyed my time sitting down every week to watch it. In that sense, I would say it accomplishes what it set out to do. Was it groundbreaking? No, but was it really trying to be? Was it the deep, emotional character study about the tragic relationship between two close friends now separated by suffering and hatred? In some ways, absolutely, although maybe not quite to the promise of the premise, the potential that this concept could have been. But you know what? You're going to see lots of other videos with people ranting negatively about the writing in the show or whatever. I'm not going to do that at all, because I don't really enjoy doing that. I don't. Let's just talk pure technical filmmaking here. The problem I have, which I'm putting in quotations because I could very well be very wrong and it's not a problem at all, but looking at the show through a guy who wants to learn how to make movies, or good movies, so he watches the pros and what they do out of desperation for a drop of wisdom from them lens, I noticed that this television show, it looks like television. By this I mean, in simple terms, that it looks just a little cheap, and coming from a studio with a history of making extremely high quality stuff, it's a little odd and a little confusing. There are a million reasons that could be why it looks the way that it does. Who's to say what those reasons are, except for the filmmakers who made the show? I'll just show a couple of shots here real quick that are somewhat comparable to shots from the other films that Disney has made, and the difference is pretty evident. Maybe the average moviegoer doesn't really notice this sort of thing, at least consciously, but to me I feel like it's a subconscious thing that just so ever so slightly takes away from that magical feeling we go into a Star Wars property looking for. Many scenes are directed in a way that feels to me as if they maybe did not have enough time on set to get whatever setups that they wanted, and had not necessarily rushed the film to film everything, but move along at a pace that you might not find on a movie set. Perhaps the director Deborah Chow did not really get a chance to be as innovative or artistic as she may be capable of. She is also somebody that's very familiar with the ways that a television set is run, based on her prior experience, and so that could be why Lucasfilm chose to hire her to helm this series in the first place. It's very possible that the crew went into production with the idea in mind that this is not a movie, and it was intentionally crafted to be something different, which is a very valid decision considering this is indeed a television show and not a blockbuster movie, because that's what it is. That's the nature of TV. Be that as it may, in the way this show was marketed, at least to me, I went in with a certain level of expectation when it came to the cinematic appeal, whatever. Marketed as a limited series event and the rematch of the century, a project that was originally conceived as a movie for many, many years, and we knew this. It was common information, at least to someone like me, who is all consumed in this stuff. Disney's previous movies have continuously shown to have an outstanding level of visual production value in the 5 that they made, each of them with a plus $200 million budget, and with all the other complaints about them everywhere, not a single person ever complains about the quality on the screen. It's big, it's immersive, everything looks real, yet real in the most surreal ways. You watch this incredible science fiction world come to life in front of your eyes, but it's never really something that you think about when you walk out of the theater. Wow, that looked really, really good and felt really real for a movie about wars in space. We don't say that because it's the standard, and it's a standard they have never really skimped out on. Until these shows. For reasons unknown, this show in particular, in my eyes, is a display that they did sort of skimp out on it a little bit. I could leap to the conclusion that they are money-hungry monsters who think they can make this the most efficient way possible and still get the views, but I don't know that, and I would be beyond idiotic of me to assume something like that, and I don't believe it. So then why? Guess who has the answer to that question? That guy is not me. But I've done my very best to study the filmmaking techniques of the show to try and figure out why that cinematic feeling is a little lost. Trying to learn those fundamentals for my own filmmaking toolbox, if that makes sense. So for our hypothetical analysis here, I'm going to eliminate 2 factors and just say that they had all the money and all the time in the world, which they definitely didn't. But if they did, okay, first thing that stands out to me is just the set design. Now, I am no production designer in any way, so don't listen to me. This is just California, right? Somewhere in there? And this looks like a normal quarry to me, like, you know, the ones on Earth. There are just a bunch of instances like this where the sets just don't look like they belong in the universe. Or instances where something about them just looks a little weird. The sequences on that city planet where Obi-Wan rescues Leia that first time. In this scene, there was something slightly disorienting about the geography going on, where characters seemed to be in the exact same place but weren't. Almost like they reused the same city street set and just dressed it a little bit differently each time. Okay, some nitpicking coming up, but just let me do it so I can try to explain what I'm saying. The lighting in this scene, first of all, Vader is lit in this, cool blue lighting that looks similar to something like a Star Destroyer set. Yet in the back, there's that massive window that opens out to the lava of Mustafar. One quality of a camera, and even our naked eye, is the concept of dynamic range, where there's a bit of a struggle to adjust the exposure of the extremely dark parts of an image and the extremely bright parts of an image at the same time. Have you ever taken a photo inside, and in the photo there's like a window in the back that's just pure white because it just can't, it's too bright? That's sort of what dynamic range is. Anyways, look at this shot in Vader's castle. Everything is perfectly exposed to the point where it's unfortunately evident that it's just a green screen and they put lava in the background. So how would you solve this? Well, since Mustafar doesn't exist, unfortunately, you would have to try and mimic the light that would be coming through from that window, with either super powerful lights that are commonly used on sets to mimic the sun, or with what Lucasfilm has now found themselves using very often nowadays, is with their stagecraft or volume technology. You know, that thing that you probably saw on The Mandalorian, which is what they also used on this show, but they used it on this show. So why is this a problem? Well, I guess there are only 3 real possibilities here. 1, they didn't use it for this specific shot. 2, the volume isn't bright enough. Or 3, maybe the volume has a larger role in this whole issue than we might think, and perhaps it's not as fantastic as the featurettes make it out to be. But then again, Mando used it to some marvelous results, especially in Season 1. So then maybe the volume itself isn't the issue. Maybe the issue is just a slight over-reliance on this technology within the past few years, coming off of Mando's screaming success. I feel like this could be the most realistic answer. I think Disney found themselves in the possession of something that allowed them to make an extremely large quantity of stuff at an extremely efficient rate and cost, which you can't really blame them for. What's also interesting to me is that the Andor show is actually opting out of stagecraft, and they're going for more traditional movie stage techniques where they build the sets and shoot on location. And by the looks of the trailer, I'd say that certainly has some merit. And I'm curious if that show will also feel like television, or if it can reach that cinematic height found in the movies. Deborah Chow is a great director. If she wasn't, she wouldn't be getting this kind of work. And the Kenobi series, it's got some solid directing in it. That final fight is great. The moments shared between Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end are directed to make audiences feel a certain way, and she succeeded brilliantly. The way the red and the blue light illuminates off the half of his Anakin's face on that one shot, symbolizing his inner conflict. It's the kind of stuff that makes me love movies so much, and it's the kind of stuff that gets me excited to make a video like this. While the show is filled with many great moments like this, there were also some times when I felt that the directing choices were just a bit awkward. And again, I'm always looking at these decisions with an eye to learn. The first big fault in my eyes is the way that Vader is presented. To me, he's not really as intimidating in this show as he is in, say, that one scene in Rogue One. Sure, he snaps a kid's neck in that one scene, which is terrifying, but then there's some other stuff like this again. Or this, which is a certainly interesting choice of camera angle and lens choice. Compared to another scene from Rogue One, there's something in the directing of this scene, in the choice of the angles, the way the camera pushes to look up at Vader to make him appear more powerful, or it also pushes and tilts down at Krennic to emphasize his vulnerability, how the door opens to slowly reveal his towering shadow that looms over Krennic as he swallows in fear, the music. A similar scene in Kenobi just didn't give me that same level of intimidation, which is one of Vader's most important qualities. As I said earlier, the fight scene is amazing, although something that stood out to me in the finale was this heavy usage of the shaky cam style of shot. Then I realized it's kind of a commonality in the entire series. There are very few static shots in the whole thing, and somewhere it looks like the camera operator is intentionally shaking it more than what a natural handheld shot would look like. To me, this is just an intentional choice made by Deborah and the crew, a choice that is by no means wrong, just perhaps a little different from the norm of Star Wars. This moment was another one. Vader ignites his saber, revealing himself to Obi-Wan, yet Obi-Wan chooses to run off, luring Vader further from Leia. Obi-Wan runs out to the right, from screen left to screen right. In the very next shot, we cut to a similar angle of Obi-Wan running screen right to screen left, with an extremely similar background. They flip sides here, and if you care enough to be this petty as I am, it sort of looks like he's running back to where he just ran away from in the previous shot, which he isn't, because he's running away. It's just another similar looking clearing in the quarry. Many moments like this just reminded me that I'm watching a television show rather than a large-scale theatrical experience, the kind that Star Wars has almost built its identity off of. Having a lower budget or a more grounded look to a series is not an automatic disservice to it or its story, and many shows out there are doing just that and having it work wonders. But something about it being mixed with Star Wars, such a surreal universe, there was something a little bit off-putting about it to me. Just enough that it weakened my immersion just a little bit. I do really hope Star Wars makes a return to the big screen, and it's on us to show them that we like it there most, if you do. I could, be in the minority on this one. Maybe TV is the future of Star Wars. If that's the case, and most people are happy that way, then that's great. I guess there's just some missing magic for me. What the hell do I know?
Shut the fuck up, Donnie!